Hello and welcome to my Game Arts Environment submission video. Week 1 consisted of building a modular game asset, and we were tasked with building a ancient Greek Doric column. To begin, I started with a pure ref document, which shows the types of columns which the ancient Greeks would have built, real life images of Doric columns which are placed around the world, in-game examples of different types of Doric columns and different art styles, some ArtStation and Sketchfab references of models made by other artists, some wireframe examples to see how the model is structurally made, and some size guide references so I have an idea on how big the column should be. All this reference will guide me on making my model. I'll have a better idea on what colors I should use when I texture, how I should structure the model in regards to topology, and how big the model should be. Once I had all this reference in place, it was time to create the model in Maya. Starting with a basic cylinder, I would use a number of tools to create the inner section of the column, then deleted all sides of the cylinder apart from one, then resizing the part with a guide to help with the modular part of this object. Once this was done, I added some more edge loops and used the soft select tool to add the curvature. Then I would use the duplicate special tool to remake the cylinder. After this, I would cut the object into creating two modular pieces. For the top part of the column, I added a image plane to the Maya file, duplicated and deleted parts of the column I've already made. In both of these, I would use tools like extrude, mirror and bevel to create the shape of the Doric column at the top. Did try to make it like the base of the column with just one side, but I had better result doing it this way. I also made a basic stand which can be used with the column, which is just a basic cube, and using the extrude and the bevel tool creating the shape of the stand. Next I had to make the UVs for the columns. The UVs were quite easy to make as the column is a cylinder shape. So I was able to use the cylinder setting in the UV map for this columns, and the UV come out quite well after using the unfold and optimize tool. For the base, I was able to select each side and use a planner, and that come out quite nice with the result also. For the map itself, for the 4 parts, I tried to condense the map into 2, as well as matching the size of the UVs to help with the texture. Next, it was take the models into Substance and add texture to them. For the texture, I just wanted to add a basic stone texture. So browsing through the smart materials, I found something that resembles the color that I wanted. And I played about with the values and the generators, as well as tweaking the color. And once I was happy with this, I added a damage generator, as I wanted to give the column some age. Once I made the texture, I would add it into a folder and create a smart material. This way I could use the smart material across the other parts of the column to save on time and to be able to match the textures. Once this was done on all 4 parts, I exported the textures and the mesh and added them to Unreal. In Unreal, I would import the FBX files I have created for the columns, as well as the textures I made in Substance. Then created a material for each of the columns with the right textures and place them on the correct models. Then using the pivot point, I would move the modular parts to create columns. Then set up a still image render to place on ArtStation, which I will showcase now. For the ArtStation page, I wanted to show the best render at the top of the page, and the rest of the page is the process of making the asset. Week 2 was about creating procedural material networks in Unreal Engine 5, with the task to make stone, wood, metal and glass. Using textures from Ambient CG, materials have been set up with a number of parameters, which can be used with material instances to change values such as the roughness and metallic values, the opacity, and the textures themselves such as the base color, the normals, and the roughness. World-based UV coordinates have also been added, and texture coordinates have been added to match the UVs in scaling. Then I added other materials from ambient CG, created material instances, and applied those to the objects in the game scene. For the rock material, a displacement parameter has been added, which can be changed to add displacement to the rock. Once I had all the objects in the scene, a still image render was made and uploaded to ArtStation. Week 3 was a continuation of week 2, with Substance Sampler and Substance Painter being used to create a texture. Firstly, we had to take reference photos. This included taking a number of pictures of bricks and stones, something that could be used for a column. Here is the images I took on a PureRef document, trying to take pictures with no light reflections, making the pictures straight and keeping a lot of the brickwork involved, not just one brick, and avoiding any brickwork or stones that had markings on it, such as paint or sort of writing. I decided on what picture I would use for my texture and added it into Photoshop. In Photoshop, I would crop the image appropriately to fit a texture and also make changes to the texture so there is less dark spots on the texture as well as the edge lines. Changing the offset so I can see the edge lines and also blending those in a bit more. Once I was happy with the texture, I added it to Substance Sampler, and using the AI Generate Material tool, I was able to get a result I was happy with and I didn't need to make any changes to. So then the material got exported to Substance Painter, where it got added to part of the column. Didn't like how it looked, so I changed the tiling as well as take the height map off, which gave it a better result. So I then exported the textures and the mesh to Unreal, where I made a material and created a render for ArtStation. And I'll show the process now on ArtStation. Week 4 was focused on retopology, and the main focus was to retop the Staffordshire Bunny. Using Maya with the retopology tool, using the original high poly Staffordshire Bunny as a live service, I would start adding quads to make the bunny. Trying to keep the quads equal in size, starting with the eye, as it's a high level of detail area, working my way around half the head, then making the ears, and once this was in place I would mirror this object, reshape it to fit the Staffordshire Bunny. I would continue working my way down the body using the multi-cut and relax tool also to help me complete the model. And once it was complete, I would use the conform tool to help me shape around the Staffordshire Bunny with the live surface better. I would then smooth the model and conform it again. This way it will give the model more polys. So here's the original model on the left hand side. Here's the low poly version, and this is the model once it's been smoothed and conformed. And once I was happy with it, I added it to Unreal Engine with a raycast lighting system and created a turnaround render for ArtStation. Week 5 was to create a unique asset. The asset I decided to make was Stormbreaker from Marvel. This is Thor's hammer in the Marvel films and comics. I decided to make this asset because I'm a fan of Marvel and I wanted to make something high poly and challenging in regards to modeling. And I thought the branches for the handle would be something challenging to do. So after approval from my lecturer, I created a PureRef document to help me with my model. For the referencing, I tried to find some size guides, a realistic image to find the colors, and something I can use in Maya as an image planner. I managed to find this toy reference mold, I think it is, which will help me create the shape of the axe part. With this referencing, I then went into Maya and made the model. So following the reference image I had, I added it as an image plane and started building the axe around this, trying to use as many polys as I can. So I was beveling all the edges, adding all the detail which was in the reference where possible. Carrying on through to the axe part of the model, still following the image planner, then eventually moving on to the branches. To create the branches, I first added a cylinder to replicate the size of the handle. Then I would make the axe and the handle a live surface object, to which I would then use the curve tool to create a line going up the cylinder and around the axe. Once this was done, I created a sweep mesh with the line to create the branch. I would then repeat this process a number of times to get the number of branches I wanted around the axe. For the UVs, I wanted the axe to be very high detailed. So I split the axe into 4 parts and gave each of the parts materials, meaning the UVs would be split across the 4 parts. For the texturing, I wanted to stay true to the model, so using silver metallics for the axe and bark sort of wood for the branch. I also wanted to add my own sort of touch to it, so I've added emissive lights and some sort of lightning effects on the actual axe, which are also emissive. I've also used height maps to add some text to the axe, as well as a pattern, a Celtic sort of pattern on the far back of it. I proceeded to add the texture and the model to Unreal Engine, as I wanted to make a render and a ray trace light system for this. But unfortunately I had some render issues, which I'll go over more in the conclusion. But I wasn't happy with the standard of the render, which I would have uploaded to ArtStation, and took screenshots in Sketchfab of the model to use as a render for now. I added these images to an ArtStation page as well as a link to the Sketchfab, which you can interact with on the ArtStation page, so the viewer is able to see the wireframe, height maps, and so on and so on. Over the weeks, I feel I've shown a good standard of work, apart from having issues with rendering and lighting. Lighting and rendering is not something I've gone over much before, and it is something I'm definitely going to learn going forward. The importance to showcase your work the best way possible as an artist is crucial when in regards to the game industry, and especially showcasing your art on ArtStation. For some reason, I was getting blurry effects on my renders, and I feel I've let my work down in this regard with my renders. And like I said, I'm not too familiar with how renders work and lighting, so I need to learn this going forward to be able to showcase my work the best way possible, as I feel my modeling and texturing skills are quite good now, and they're getting let down because I can't showcase them fully without good renders. Like I said, I feel my modeling skills are at a high standard. Apart from that issue, I feel the rest of the work I've done has been good. I could still improve on making UVs. I still haven't worked out how to get them perfect. But apart from that, in regards to modeling, I feel pretty confident in my ability. I was also disappointed with my time management in this module. There were some tasks I missed out, like the dragon, due to my time restrictions. And I feel I could also improve some of the textures and my Stormbreaker model if I was able to spend a bit more time on them. I'm glad we've used Substance Sampler now. I have a better understanding on how real life images work in regards to texturing and materials, and I was blown away with how Sampler works. and I can't wait to use it again to develop more skills with the program. Having insight on how topology and retopology works is good, and it's going to be helpful going forward to the next module. That concludes this video. Thank you for watching.